We are almost there, Steve Phillips. March 12th, I think, halfway through the week. Clubs are formed. Camps are winding down. Good morning. There's always still talent on the board, right? This time of year. Who's top of mind middle of March?
Well, I think one of the things I'm surprised by is what about David Robertson? I mean, we saw Andrew Kittredge go down to the Orioles bullpen. We saw Eric Swanson likely headed to Tommy John in the Blue Jays bullpen. David Robertson, I know he's 39 years old, but he had a 3 ERA last year, and in 62 games, 68 games, he threw 72 innings, had 99 strikeouts, and only gave up 53 hits last year. He was awesome. Fantastic. And he's still out there and available. Look at his whip. I mean, they don't give up 5 home runs. He still has game left right now. And so, I don't get why somebody hasn't signed him. I don't know if it's the asking price or what it is. Maybe he only wants to pitch in certain places, but he'd be a guy that would absolutely impact the bullpen right now with experience, high leverage situations, these close games. I don't understand why somebody hasn't signed him right now.
Where do you land on pitchers and lack of spring action, or is he so experienced it's not going to matter, Steve?
Well, I mean, at this point, yeah, he maybe needs to come into a camp and need some extra time, and maybe it would be that he would be April 15th, but
sure.
But at this stage, I would still bring him into camp and get it done. And so the other thing we've looked at is, Brian Cashman acknowledging with Garrett Cole having the Tommy John surgery, there's not a lot of pitching out there, but there are still some guys. Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, there are still some starting pitchers that are out there. I mean, Kyle Gibson threw 170 innings last year with the Cardinals, and he's available. And then you look at the trade market. Is it Dylan Cease or is Sandy Alcantara out there and available? There might be some trades that can be had, although it's going to be difficult to get those guys. And Eric Petty, is a guy that got traded last year from the White Sox to the Cardinals. We had heard at one point Dylan Cease, Michael King, although once the ownership situation got resolved in San Diego, it sounds like they pulled them back a little bit. But Alcantara, I mean, once he shows he's ready to go, we saw that Peter Bendix is willing to make a deal early during the season. He doesn't have to wait for the deadline. We saw Luis Ariz get traded last year in May. And so I think that when Peter Bendix is ready, he's going to make a deal. And so GMs are going to have to stay on top of it to try to get some pitching because there's not enough to go around. And so when you can get it, you need to get it.
How fun was it watching King in October on the biggest stage? I asked Brian Cashman the other day, I said, how many days do you turn your brain off in the offseason? He said, maybe a quarter of one. But that comes with the territory, right? We just featured Steve Blue Jays on 30 Clubs in 15 Days. Heard from Vlad Jr. Now that the season is almost on the way, where does that leave the talks in your mind?
Well, look, they gave, Vlad gave the February 18th deadline, and so that came and went. The dust is settled. But what is really interesting is, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has shared a little bit about the negotiations. He said they weren't close. Now, one of the things is that he wanted a $500 million net present value deal. The team offered, what we're understanding now as things have sorted out, close to a $450 million net present value of a deal. Now, remember, Shohei Ohtani got $700 million, but with the deferrals, his net present value is about $460 million. Now, the Blue Jays are thinking to themselves, we can't pay you more than what Shohei Ohtani got from a net present value. Guerrero's saying, well, Juan Soto got $765 million net present value, and they went beyond Shohei Ohtani. And so the Blue Jays are thinking we were more than fair with our offer. And Vladdy's saying, I want $500 million. And so that's where they are. Both sides, I think, can stand justified in some part of their beliefs on this thing. So I don't know that anything's going to get done during the season. I don't know if the Blue Jays are ever going to budge where they are. I think they're very fair with their offer. I understand Vladdy wants what he wants, but I will tell you, I was in Blue Jays camp, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sounded very mature, and he shifted his focus from contract to saying we need this clubhouse to be together and for everybody to focus on the name on the front of the uniform, not the name on the back of the uniform. And it needs to be better than it was last year, which I thought, wow. 1 year left. He has every reason to believe to fight for that contract, and he was fighting for trying to win this season. I thought, what a mature response from a young guy that could have made it about a contract, and he's not making it about the contract.
I like that. Impressive and very telling, isn't it, Steve? AL wide open. We were talking with Matt Olson yesterday. I think it was Matt or Harold asked him about the A's giving long-term deals out. And he was so kind. He said, that's new and it's nice, and I get the sense that they want to win. What's your take on it, Steve?
Yeah, so whatever the motivation is, right? There was a grievance filed that they weren't spending some of the money from revenue sharing on contracts. Whatever the motivation is, I don't care. I think it is great, right? You've got a new stadium coming in. Look, when there is a new stadium, the idea is to start to build that when that product goes into the new stadium, you've got something that will generate excitement and momentum for the fans that come in. That it's not just the stadium that will draw people there, but you want the product to be something that they're going to be excited about. And I get it. Brent Rooker, this guy's a legitimate power force, late bloomer delivering. Lawrence Butler is a homegrown, developed player, drafted from Georgia, a sixth-round pick, not a high bonus baby guy, but he's now starting to develop. They spent some money on pitching. Luis Severino. They trade for Jeffrey Springs. They signed Jose Leclerc to fortify the bullpen. Signed Luis Arias to fortify and build the infield. infield up in some depth there. I like what they're doing. Now, I still don't think they got a chance to win this division. I don't. I think that I look at the Rangers. This is a year for the Rangers, I think. I think the Astros are still going to be a playoff team. I think the Mariners pitching is going to be tough to match up with, but it's another step in the growth for the Athletics. And by the time they get to the new stadium, I can see them being a team that could be a playoff team moving forward. But this is the right direction for this organization for sure.
And Harold is very excited about the A's this year. I do not know why you're on your home cam. JP Morosi, good morning to you. There's about to be international baseball. Cubs and Dodgers from Japan. Matt Shaw making the trip. You heard the guys talk about it earlier. A lot of excitement about that. Are you going? Good morning.
Lauren, good morning. I am not going, but I will be up early next week every day watching the broadcasts. So 6 a.m. Eastern time, I'll be locked in. Harold's going to be there for us, so that's the important thing. And Matt Shaw will be there too. And notably, Lauren, this is not Matt Shaw's first trip to Tokyo. He was there in November helping Team USA win a bronze medal at the WBSC Premier 12. And at the time, you knew there was a path for him to be able to make the Cubs opening day roster. That's not yet officially official, but he is on his way now, perhaps arriving shortly to Tokyo. And I really do believe, Lauren, that experience playing for Team USA has helped him get here. And here's why. During that tournament, and Harold's going to be checking on this, I know, as our correspondent there in Tokyo, the infield coach for Team USA at that event, Dino Ebel, one of the best coaches that we've got in Major League Baseball. Of course, he's now with the Los Angeles Dodgers, has been with the Dodgers for many, many years. But I noticed this when I went over there to watch that tournament play out, is that Matt Shaw was working every single day on infield drills with Dino Ebel. And that's why you play international ball. You get a chance to work with an excellent Major League infield coach in Dino Ebel. So the work with Dino helped improve Matt's work over at third base, helped him hopefully make it to the big leagues. And so next week, when they're playing in the Tokyo series, he'll be facing Dino Ebel in the Los Angeles Dodgers. How about that circle closing, connecting it all for next week's series?
I love it. And the rosters, JP, and the list of guys going tells you something. Just because we're so close to April, Hae-Sung Kim not going. What does that tell you about his future, his start to the year?
Well, I think, Lauren, the idea with Kim is that by going down to the minor leagues, he'll get more at-bats and get more comfortable with Major League pitching, or at least close to Major League pitching, by staying back in Arizona, ending the year in the minor leagues. Remember this, Lauren, about the way the Dodgers roster is shaping up. If you've got Tommy Edman at second, Betts at short, Muncy, who we saw in the A block, and the way that Max has come in great shape for spring training, and then your bench, in terms of infielders or super utility guys, Ike Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor. There's just not a lot of at-bats there because the Dodgers have brought in and kept so many veteran utility and super utility players that it does not make sense for Hae-Sung Kim to come up to the major leagues right now and sit on the bench. If Edman's your second baseman, if Mookie's your shortstop, you've already got a center field figured out. They've brought in Conforto to help in the outfield. Where are your at-bats? And so I think the idea for Hae-Sung Kim, it's not really an indictment of his play so far. It's more just a function of how much depth they've got among their veterans. So for Kim, go down to the minor leagues, get some at-bats, and get ready for later on in the year. Similar case to Bobby Miller, who was also optioned out. At different times, Miller's been a postseason starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, but just not right now, given the way that Dustin May, as we documented in the first segment, the way that May has pitched. So this team, Lauren, has so much depth, and the opportunity for Kim and for Miller is coming, but later on in the year.
So much talent. They will certainly find their place. Red Sox file them under the category of having talent, and they brought in more of just at camp. There's an energy there, JP, that I don't think we've seen in years past, and there's excitement about Lucas Giolito until a couple pitches in. What did you know?
Right, so it's been described right now, Lauren, as a minor hamstring issue. They're expected to have more information on Lucas today. He's scheduled for an MRI. He was able to pitch through it, so that part was encouraging in describing it as a minor hamstring issue for Lucas Giolito. But this, Lauren, caught my attention simply because you've already got Brian Bayo on the IL to begin the year. You also have Crawford on the IL to begin the year. Sandoval, as you see there, it was brought in as a pitcher who we believe will come back at some point during the course of the season. So they really need Giolito to be healthy. Crochet, of course, the high-profile acquisition. Buehler was signed. Priester is someone that they have high hopes for, too. But this situation, if it escalates to something that's more serious, would not leave them with a tremendous amount of margin for error as you approach opening day. Also, very notably, Rafael Devers, not expected to get his first Grapefruit League action until this weekend. There's not a lot of time as you think about how much time there is between now and the domestic opening day 2 weeks away from tomorrow. That's all we're at is 2 weeks from tomorrow is opening day in North America, and we have yet to see Devers play in game circumstances. So it's getting late early, as they say, for Devers, for Gunnar Henderson. Maybe we'll get into his situation later on in the week in the case of the Baltimore Orioles. So this is now the time of spring where if you're not playing regular games, you start to be concerned. So Devers is going to have to really show some things starting this weekend in Red Sox camp.
It creates decisions for these managers as they close camp soon. And in the great state of Michigan, a position battle for A.J. Hinch. What's top of mind for him right now?
Well, a couple different things. Now, we'll say this. Spencer Torkelson, in a spring where he's got to show something, is doing exactly that. And with different situations right now, Meadows likely to begin the year on the IL, or at least possibly going to begin the year on the IL. Veerling, we know, is going to begin the year on the IL. So there is a spot on this lineup for Torkelson to be the DH. And he's proving so far that he can do that. Jace Young came up yesterday and had his first homer of the spring. So some good signs there for him at third base. Javier Baez has had a pretty productive spring. Even if Trey Sweeney ends up being the shortstop for the Tigers on opening day, Baez with, I think, better health right now. You see him playing shortstop. That's Torkelson at the plate with a good swing. So I think overall, Torkelson and Baez both had to have big springs. They're doing exactly that. Young, again, at third base. Some good signs for, by the way, and listen carefully, Lauren, as we're bringing it full circle to the A block, Devin Booker's favorite baseball team, the Detroit Tigers. So we talk about the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
Devin Booker, one of the best guards in the NBA, representing the U.S. in the Olympics. He's an Olympic gold medalist twice over. Devin Booker.
And he's dating a Kardashian, isn't he?
Devin Booker can play, and he loves his Tigers, his Red Wings, and his Lions. I'm a fan of Devin Booker.
I'm told they broke up. I don't know. I don't pay attention. Maybe they're back together. JP Morosi. Appreciate it. Where's the artwork, by the way? What?
Working on that, Lauren. We'll see how we're at for opening day.